Welcome, and it's time for Constitution Study Television. I am Douglas V. Gibbs, your host, douglasvgibbs.com, politicalpistachio.com. And tonight's topic is sacred honor, and it was inspired by actually something that just happened to me today. So let me explain what happened and what I mean. I have been looking for furniture for my living room. The recliner we used to have broke down, tossed it. The couch was in bad shape. Springs were, starting to fill them through the bottom. Got rid of it. So right now there's no furniture. There's no couch or love seat or recliner chair of that kind in the living room. My wife actually spends most of her time when she's home in the living room, and she's watching TV sitting on a wooden chair from the dining room table. I spend time in my office quite a bit and usually watch TV in here. We tend to do that. It's interesting. We kind of have separate lives when we're home. But anyway, so my wife had been looking online for pieces of furniture for a reasonable price, because new, for a couch and a new chair, I mean, we're looking at a couple $1,000 between the two of them. And so in the past, we've always found couches and recliners through estate sales, garage sales, or online. And so she'd been scouring the web, and we had found a handful of items here and there, and it didn't seem to work out. In one case, I called the folks on a couch twice, and they never called me back. So tonight, we finally found a piece of furniture, a recliner that resembled a recliner we used to have, kind of a dark chocolate brown, smaller than your typical recliner, but very comfy indeed. And it was one of my favorites in the past. So since it looked like it was similar, we were very interested. On top of that, the gentleman was only offering it for $60. Well, $60 for a recliner that's in quote unquote good condition according to the ad online. So we were willing to go out and see it. So we messaged him on the platform that he used to advertise his recliner yesterday, and he said that he would like to meet 7 o'clock tonight for us to get together so I could take a look at the recliner and possibly purchase it. His location was in Orange County, Irvine, California, which is, for me, living in Murrieta, a pretty good jaunt down the road. It's about an hour and a half drive when traffic is light, and it's 2 to 2.5 hours when the traffic is heavy. So I'm figuring, okay, so to give myself enough time, I'll have to quit working by 4:30 or 5, get on Virginia. My wife, got home from work about 4:30, so we get out the door at 5 so we could make that 7 o'clock time tonight. It took us an hour and a half to get out there as expected. We got there about, I think it was 6:27. So I texted or messaged the guy and let him know we were in the area. We were waiting in a parking lot at a intersection in that city, and was awaiting further instructions. So we sat in the truck waiting, and he never messaged me back. And I thought, well, it's possible he's at work. He doesn't get home till 7 or something like that. So, I'll at least wait until 7. Then when 7 o'clock rolled around, still no answer. So at 7:06, I sent a message, and the message said, still waiting. Now, the night before, when we had been communicating, I had indicated I was coming in from Murrieta, so he was aware I was coming in from a far distance. And that it's in the evening, so, I'm going to get back a lot later than he would, be able to get in. And I'm leaving, at a time where right after work, so, I'm skipping dinner. My wife and I are, jumping in the vehicle and heading on out. And so we get out there, and I text him at 7:06 that I'm still waiting, and the response I get is, having dinner, let's make it 8. Now, our response was, because see, if we wait till 8, by the time we get together, find the place, we see the recliner, get it loaded into the truck if we decide to get it, We're looking between 8:30 or 9 before we're out of there, and traffic going in that direction where I live from Orange County in LA is bad until like 10 o'clock at night. So it's going to be at least a 2-hour drive home. So now we're looking at getting home at 10, 10:30, maybe 11. Still no dinner. Got to work the following day, things like that. And so for us, the time became prohibitive. Plus also it was bothersome. Wait a second, you said 7. You're changing the time on me because you decided to go have dinner. I'm sitting in a parking lot waiting for you. I'd indicated in my message, this is what I'm thinking anyway, that I'm waiting in a parking lot. So you're saying wait in a parking lot for another hour because I'm going to change the time on you because, well, it just behooves me to do such. And it bothered me and my wife, and so and also, we couldn't, we can't stay that late, and it's going to be too late by the time we get home. So I basically, I responded with a message that said, my wife and I have been waiting in a parking lot, and it's a long drive home. We can't wait that late. Sorry, then we are leaving. Never got a response. At first, and then about 5 or 10 minutes later, after we're down the road, well, did you want 1 chair or 2? Was that going to alter his dinner plans? Was that going to change the time? What did it matter? He had already inconvenienced me to the point where I was going to waste over 4 hours of my evening that got ruined because he didn't honor the original time. And so I didn't respond other than, we're on the road, and that was it. And then when I got home, and it was well after 9, as expected. So it was, 4 hours of my day, plus my wife got off work early, so she lost wages in order for us to get on the road by 5. So it was a loss of 4 hours of our evening, plus, she lost wages by getting off work early. And I didn't even get as much as an apology from the young man, which, according to his picture on the platform that was being used to make this personal offer to people out there, looked like to be late 20s, mid to late 20s, maybe early 30s, maybe. So in other words, he's a millennial. And my wife and I were talking about it on the way back, and we were bothered by it. You don't tell someone you're going to meet them at 7. They're coming a long distance because they told you they are. And then when the time comes, say, oh, it's going to be an hour later because I decided to go to dinner. It was disrespectful. It was dishonorable. And as we're driving back, I got to thinking about the final words of the Declaration of Independence. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And people have asked me, well, what do they mean by sacred honor? That was a great example of the opposite of sacred honor. There used to be a time when I was younger where there was a saying, my handshake is my bond, or my word is my bond. Because the men had and people had honor, sacred honor. Now, the founding fathers, when they were discussing sacred honor, when they came up with that concept, they were talking about duty and honor, and their attitude was that your duty and honor outranks, are superior to, our rights and self-interest. For example, I have a right to swing my arms, but I should be responsible with the swinging of my arms, and the honorable thing to do while swinging my arms, and the duty that I have by being responsible swinging my arms, is that I don't swing them into the face of other people. I may say I have a right to swing my arms all I want, and it may be in my self-interest to swing my arms all I want. But if I have sacred honor, I'm going to stop swinging my arms when I approach the other person. Because it is the honorable thing to do is not to encroach on someone else's rights. That's why in the Declaration it says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't have a right to happiness at everybody else's expense. I have a right to pursue it. I like to give the cake baking situation recently in the last few years of the news, where there was a gay couple who sued a baker because they wouldn't bake a cake with a same-sex couple, gay couple, homosexual couple, on it or with that message because they were Christians and it violated their religious beliefs. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yeah, you may have a right to be gay or a right to have your cake baked the way you want, but you don't have a right to force somebody against their own belief system, their own rights, to bake it. Go find somebody else to bake it, somebody who agrees with you. That's sacred honor. If the gay community had honor, sacred honor, their self-interest and what they think is their rights would step aside, because the right thing to do would be to say, hey, you know what? You have your religious beliefs and it doesn't agree with mine, and I hate the fact that you think differently, but I'll go find somebody else to do it. Thanks for your consideration. That's sacred honor. That's putting honor and duty above rights and self-interest, because it's the right thing to do, not because it's the politically correct thing to do. I mean, political correctness makes a distorted view of that concept, distorts it into something that it shouldn't be, almost authoritarian. Sacred honor is basically sort of like the golden rule, right? Treat others as you like them to treat you. You know, if you were a homosexual and you owned a bakery and someone wanted you to bake a cake that was, a Christian message, and let's say you hated Christianity and you didn't want to make it, should they be able to force you by law to make that cake? Or should a Muslim baker be forced to make a same-sex marriage cake? Why was it targeted against Christians? But anyway, my point is this. It's not a matter of LGBT. I'm not arguing and trying to be disrespectful to any group. I'm saying that sacred honor means that we're honorable to each other, that our honor and duty to each other, our responsibility, outweighs our rights and self-interest. It kind of is like the rule of law. The rule of law, it isn't really, it's funny too, because during this impeachment hearing, I keep hearing rule of law, rule of law, rule of law by the left. They don't even know what the rule of law is. They think the rule of law is what a bunch of liberal judges says it is. The rule of law is natural law. The laws of nature and of nature's God, as it says in the first paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. We know right and wrong, 10 Commandments. But we didn't need the 10 Commandments to know that murder is a sin. Even though it says thou shalt not kill, we know that murder is the wrong thing. Why? Because of the rule of law and natural law. Because we know it's wrong. It's self-evident to us. So the rule of law and sacred honor kind of exist together because we know right from wrong. It's self-evident to us. So what has happened? I believe that we have a culture that is struggling with the rule of law, with the laws of nature and of nature's God, and with honor and sacred honor, because it has become a narcissistic, arrogant culture. There's I'm trying to remember what they call it, do as you do or do what you do kind of attitude out there. You do you. That's what it is. You do you. In other words, screw everybody else. I'm going to act the way I want, be what I want. I remember when I was younger, and there was an old saying, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Because it violates sacred honor. It violates natural law. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to be what you think you are, but let's also be fair about it. Be reasonable about it. Don't be selfish and arrogant about it. So I'm going to do it, and I don't care how many people I stomp on, because that's my right. That's ridiculous. But that's what's happening. And we have a progressive left that's pushing that kind of attitude. And so what has happened is sacred honor has gone by the wayside. People don't even understand what it is. And I guarantee you, if that young man who I was dealing with tonight watched this video, it's very possible he still won't understand what I mean by sacred honor. That he was dishonorable, disrespectful. Well, I wanted to have dinner. Not my fault that you had to come a long way. My self-interest is I want to have dinner and it was going to wait till 8. But you said 7, man. You don't say that you're going to do something at one time and then do it else. Or you don't offer something to somebody and then suddenly say, oh, you know what? I was just joshing you. There's a bunch of conditions. You can't meet those conditions. I'm not going to give it to you. You don't do that to people. Honor and duty supersedes rights and self-interest. I'm not saying that you shouldn't place your rights as something important or your self-interest as something important. Self-interest is a wonderful thing. We are individuals. Individualism is a big deal. And often self-interest, though, blossoms into what's good for everybody else. If it's my self-interest to start my own business and create a certain product, and in my self-interest, I become successful, and I need to put more product on the market because more and more people are buying it, what happens? I need employees. I hire people, and they then help produce the product. So the market's happy, they've got the product. People are happy, they have jobs. So in that sense, self-interest can be good for society. But when self-interest is not good, when it becomes something that's dishonorable, then your honor and duty supersedes that self-interest. Sacred honor. It's funny, too, because all my life I've wondered if our culture understands what sacred honor is. Because even when I was a young man in the 70s, I felt like, our culture has moved away from that. And I have felt that every decade, but I especially feel it now. Sacred honor has been replaced by authoritarianism, tyranny, of political correctness, of the cancel culture, of the woke society, narcissism, arrogance, and dishonor. We have a society, especially when it comes to these millennials, that has become focused on only themselves. Like I said, individualism is a fine thing, but not when it gets to the point where it betrays our duty and honor to each other. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They pledge their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honor. Laws of nature and of nature's God. These are words from the Declaration of Independence that are very important to American culture and a part of what American culture is. And yet, in today's society, and really, and it's been gradually getting worse, but really over the last 100 years plus, sacred honor has become a forgotten concept. Sacred honor is becoming something that nobody cares about because their own narcissistic, arrogant self-interests now supersede honor and duty. I pray for America, and I pray that we regain our sacred honor. Oh, by the way, after I got home, I sent a little text to the young man, a little message saying, hey, I just got home. Cost me 4 hours of my evening, plus wages, because we got off work early in order to make sure we're out there in time to meet your 7 o'clock request. And what you did was dishonorable. Maybe he just thought I was a complaining old man. Those old people, they don't know what they're talking about. They make, can't please them, whatever. Young people are always like, well, you're not willing to listen to us, our voice. Well, that's because you don't know what you're talking about. You have not lived the years that we've lived. When I was a young man, I was cocky, dumb, and ignorant, and immature, and all that too. We have a society, a culture, especially with these millennials and the progressives, that have abandoned what it means to be a virtuous society, have abandoned duty and honor, sacred honor. If we're not a godly nation, if we are not a nation that is virtuous, we're not even capable of understanding what sacred honor is. I'm thinking about sending that young man a link to this video too. Maybe I will. As for you, thank you for watching. Appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're new to this page, you're like, hey, this is good stuff. Hit the subscribe button right down there, kind of down there. And then hit the little bell for the notifications so that you get an email when a new video comes out. I'm trying to do it 2 or 3 times a week right now. We also have Constitution podcast, which I've just started on youtube.com/Douglas V. Gibbs. Also a radio program every Saturdays at 1. The last one I thought we were going to have. Football kind of interfered, so we got preempted. We'll be on next Saturday. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and where we go one, we go all. God bless America, God bless you, and never forget, united we stand, combined we kick butt. Let's work together. Stay patriotic, stay safe, and as always, stay constitutional. We'll see you next time. Thanks.